Discover the Sun was a very popular travel agency. It sold package tours to the hottest and most exotic destinations. But one day, the police found out this company helped criminals flee the country. They also learned the exact date when it would happen the next time. On that day, several police officers arrived at the airport. They stopped a group of tourists who were flying to a Caribbean island. But the detectives didn't know the criminal's identity. That's why they had to search the baggage of all the customers. Look at their bags and say who the criminal is. It's the young woman on the left. If she's going on a package tour to a hot place, why does she need a winter jacket? Eric is trapped in a room. It's slowly filling with water that's coming from a tap in the wall. There are no windows in the room, and the door is blocked. Eric has a mop and a big bucket. What can he do to survive? The only thing the guy needs to do is to turn off the tap. You knew that, didn't you? Laura agreed to take part in a riddle competition. One of the tasks was to get out of a locked room. She had to figure out the code for the combination lock. And the only thing that could help her was this note. 2 equals 6, 4 equals 26, 5 equals 426, 6 equals what? In a couple of minutes, Laura was already leaving the room. What was the code? The code was just one number, 6. 6 equals 2 because 2 equals 6. Megan invited her friends to her favorite restaurant to celebrate her birthday. They were having a lot of fun. Megan got the best birthday present ever. Her friends gave her a diamond ring. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes of total confusion, the lights came back on. But Megan's ring was gone. Look at the picture thoroughly and try to figure out who stole it. It's the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He put the ring inside. Now there's much more water in it. Jacob's girlfriend Nicole loved riddles. One day she was on a business trip to France. She called Jacob and told him it was her relative's birthday. "Could you go and congratulate them, please?" When the guy asked her which relative he had to visit, Nicole answered, "It's the daughter of the only son of my grandfather." Who is this mysterious relative Jacob is asked to congratulate? It's Nicole's sister. Brandon was a police officer. That day, he was patrolling the streets of the small town where he lived. When the man was driving past his best friend's house, he saw that the front door was open. He decided to check if everything was okay. As soon as Brandon entered the hall, he spotted his friend lying on the floor. After the man was taken to a hospital, the officer went to question the neighbors. Julie said, "I've been planting new fruit trees in my garden since early morning." Nathan said, "I have some problems with my car. I was in the garage all day long trying to fix them." And Patrick told Brandon, "They aired a new episode of my favorite TV show. I stayed at home to watch it." Which neighbor is lying? Nathan. His hands and gloves are spotless. It wouldn't be possible if he had been repairing his car. This means he's lying. Ms. Lopez took her students to an art museum. Half an hour into the excursion, a worried museum worker approached the professor. He told Ms. Lopez one of the exhibits, a precious vase, had been damaged. The culprit could be no one else but one of the students. Only 3 of them came close to the vase, but who ruined it? Maria said, "After I looked at the vase, I noticed my makeup was smudged, so I went straight to the bathroom." Anthony said, "I didn't touch the exhibit. After looking at it, I went to the next room to see the dino skeleton." And Nathan said he had been following Ms. Lopez taking notes. One of these students is lying, but who? Anthony. There are no dinosaur bones in the art museum. Someone broke into Samantha's house through the window and stole some valuable things. When the police came, she told them she suspected her younger brother Sam. The police officers went to question the guy, but he denied everything. "I was playing basketball several days ago and broke my arm. It's in a cast now. I wouldn't be able to get into the house." The police officers left, but the next day, one of them saw Sam in a cafe. The guy was still wearing the cast, but the officer immediately arrested him. Why? When the police visited Sam, the guy had the cast on his right arm. Now, it was on his left arm. Look at these two families having dinner. One is munching on pizzas with different yummy toppings. The other is having steaks and vegetables. Can you figure out which family is poorer? No matter how tasty the pizzas are, they're still cheaper than large pieces of meat. This means the family eating steaks must have more money than the second one. Keith had a tragic accident when he was a teenager. Unfortunately, it left the guy blind. He was dreaming of being able to see again for years. One day, Keith was lucky to find a doctor who told him a special surgery could solve his problem. Keith agreed right away. The surgery went well, and the guy took a train to go home. His girlfriend accompanied him. The doctor told Keith he had to wait for at least 3 hours before taking the bandages off. Keith was so impatient and excited he could hardly wait for the time to be over. 3 hours later, they were still on the train. And even though his girlfriend was against this idea, the guy wouldn't listen. He slowly pulled off the bandages, and then he screamed and lost consciousness. Why? When Keith opened his eyes, the train was going through a dark tunnel. The poor guy thought he was still blind and fainted. To pass an exam, Dennis has to solve a riddle. 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2. Find a set of 3 whole numbers whose sum will be the same as their total when multiplied. Dennis gave the right answer almost immediately. These numbers are 1, 2, and 3. Tyler was going to his friend's place in the evening when a stranger in a black mask caught him. The next thing the guy knew, he was in a large room, locked in a cage. There were 3 levers in the wall next to the cage. If he pulled the first lever, he would let hungry lions into the cage. The second lever would fill the cage with water, and the third lever would activate a special mechanism. It would make the top of the cage move down towards the bottom, crushing everyone and everything inside. Which lever should Tyler pull to survive? His only choice is the second lever. All the water will flow out through the bars of the cage. Joan came home one evening and discovered that someone had burgled her house. When the police arrived, first of all, they went to question the neighbors. Victoria said, "I was visiting my friend. She lives 2 blocks away. I came home a couple of minutes ago." Peter explained to the officers that he was ill. He only made a short trip to the pharmacy and stayed in bed after that. Nathan said, "My wife and I were preparing for a barbecue party. Our friends were supposed to come to us, but as you see, it's pouring with rain and we had to cancel our plans." The police officers realized that for some reason, one of the neighbors was lying. Who was it? Victoria. It was raining, and she said she had just come home. But her hair, clothes, and the umbrella, which was standing near the door, were absolutely dry. Matthew has only black and white socks, but he keeps them all mixed. One evening, the guy's in a hurry. He's getting ready for a romantic dinner with his girlfriend. Suddenly, the power goes out. Now it's completely dark in the room. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in the drawer. He can't see anything. How many socks must he pull out of the drawer to get 2 matching ones? Just 3. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 socks of the same color. Look at the picture carefully and try to figure out which person is left-handed. The waiter is a lefty. It's easier for a left-handed person to hold the tray in the right hand and deal with the food and drinks with the left or dominant one. A farmer only has goats, sheep, and horses on his farm. At the moment, they're all horses, but 5, all goats, but 4, and all sheep, but 3. So, how many of each animal does the farmer have? There were 3 sheep, 2 goats, and 1 horse on the farm. Altogether, there were 6 animals. Meh. So Dave had to sneak into his mom's computer to delete some emails he accidentally sent her. His mom had a bad memory, so she always had notes with her passcodes. Luckily, the note was right there again, saying 9868. Dave entered the passcode, but it was wrong. Why? And what's the actual passcode? The note was just turned upside down. The actual passcode is 8986. Stephanie came home after a long day at work. She was very excited to finally eat her favorite chocolate she had been dreaming about all day. But the chocolate was gone. Stephanie interrogated each of her family members. Her husband said, "I just got home from work too and haven't eaten anything all day." Her daughter Della said, "I was studying all day and didn't eat anything too." Della's twin brother Arnie said, "It wasn't me." Who ate the chocolate? Take a closer look at Della's desk. There's a chocolate wrapper, but she said she didn't eat anything. She must have lied. A grocery store manager noticed that recently they started to lose watermelons. He suggested that there's a watermelon thief coming at the store from time to time. He opened one of the security videos and could immediately tell who the thief was. Look at the picture and try to guess who is the culprit. Look at the guy in the middle. He has a ball in his hands, but he's holding it like it's very heavy. Usually, balls aren't heavy, so it must be a watermelon. Tom and Mark came to the job audition. The company doesn't want to hire parents because they need full commitment. Both men said that they're not parents, but one of them is lying. Can you tell who? It's Mark. Take a closer look at his hand. There's a pink scrunchie on it. He must have done his daughter's hair before the audition. Mrs. Smith invited her neighbors over for a fancy dinner. She used her best tea set and silver cutlery and cooked a great meal. However, during the dinner, she realized that one of her neighbors is a vampire. Who is the vampire, and how did she understand it? The vampire is the one who brought his own plastic spoon and is eating with it instead of with Mrs. Smith's silver cutlery. That's because vampires are afraid of silver. Four friends met after the summer break and talked about how their summer went. Toby was bragging about the months he spent in Chile and how hot it was there. However, his friends didn't believe him and called him a liar. Why? Chile is located in the southern hemisphere. During the summertime, it's winter there. Toby said it was hot, which can't be true. Three friends, Blair, Chloe, and Nell, were walking all day around town. They found a beautiful but dusty house where no one lived. They entered it and started to take pictures. In the evening, they were scrolling through the pictures and one of them made a scream. Take a look at the photos and say which one scared them and why. It's the first picture. There was no one in the house except for the girls, but on that picture, they're all three of them together, snapped from behind. Michelle was having a birthday party. She noticed her brother was eating in his room with some girl. However, she didn't know who it was. She got very curious, so after they left, she sneaked into his room to find some hints. There were three girls at her party: Jasmine, Sydney, and Nicole. Michelle immediately guessed who her brother was dating. Can you? Her brother was dating Jasmine. Look at the dishes and the cutlery. There's a lipstick stain on the fork. Jasmine is the only one wearing lipstick. Pamela is a lawyer and Samantha is a journalist. Can you guess which one of these women is a mother? Take a look at the background. On the wall behind Samantha, there's some colorful marker scribbles. She must be a mother. Gianna was getting ready for her date. Suddenly, the lights in her apartment went off. She was almost ready and only needed her gloves. It was dark and she couldn't find a fitted pair. She only had gloves of two colors, brown and black. She was already late, so she decided to leave, taking several gloves with her. How many gloves should she take with her to be sure there's a pair of the same color? She just needs 3. Even if the first 2 are of a different color, the third one will either be black or brown, matching the other one. A police officer was following a robber around the city. Suddenly, the robber entered the hospital and disappeared. When the police officer entered the building, there were 3 workers. One of them must be a robber who dressed up to pretend to be a doctor. Can you tell who? It's the man in the middle. Look at his badge. There's a picture of a woman on it. He must have worn the first pair of clothes he noticed. It was Christmas morning and the whole family was home. When Bailey returned in her room after watching her show on TV, she found that someone stole all the presents she had been wrapping. She questioned every person in the house. Her mom said that she had been making dinner. Her dad said he had been mowing the lawn. Her brother said he had been playing video games in his room. Who stole the presents? It was Bailey's dad. It's winter, and we could see that it's snowing outside. He just couldn't mow the lawn. In the Arts Museum, the lights went off for a couple of minutes. When they came back on, the most expensive painting was missing. The detective arrived and started the investigation. There were 3 suspects, and he questioned each of them. Jessica, a dance teacher, said that she had been so scared when the lights went off that she couldn't even move and for sure didn't touch anything. Derek, a journalist, said he'd been in the bathroom at the time. Collins, an engineer, said he had been in a different room of the museum, watching the dinosaur fossil. Who's lying? It's Collins. It's an art museum. There are no dinosaur exhibitions. Can you tell who's not a real werewolf? It's actually the guy who looks like a werewolf. Werewolves only turn into wolves during the time of the full moon and at night. It's daytime now, so the guy must be just wearing a costume. Esme was having a walk in the forest. After the dawn, she tried to find her way back home, but got lost. Finally, she came across a witch's house and asked her to take her home. The witch agreed to help her, but only if Esme solved her riddle. If not, she'd have to stay with the witch forever. The witch took an apple, tied a string to it, and held it. She asked Esme to cut the string in half so that the apple didn't fall down. However, Esme couldn't touch the apple or hold it. How could she do it? Esme should tie a knot in the middle of the string, make it into a loop, and then cut the apple. The time police have found out that there's a time traveler who uses the time machine more often than allowed. They tracked him and followed him to the Stone Age. Can you guess who's the time traveler? It's this guy who's wearing sneakers. Sneakers in the Stone Age? Really? Mr. Brown was robbed in the street. The culprit hit him on the right side of his head and ran away with his wallet. Mr. Brown didn't see who it was, but he noticed that the person entered a nearby hospital. When he entered, there were 3 people sitting there. Take a close look at them and tell who was the culprit. Mr. Brown was hit on the right side of his face. This means that the robber is left-handed. Look at where the bags stand next to those people. The first woman has her purse on the left side of her, which means it must have been her. For her birthday, Sienna got a beautiful hairpin. She brought it to school and showed it to her friends during lunch. Then she left for the bathroom, and when she returned, the hairpin was gone. Take a look at the pictures before and after, and tell which of her friends stole it. Look at the glass of juice of the red-haired girl. It looks like there's more juice on the later picture. No, there's not. She just put a hairpin in the glass. Mr. Green got in a car accident and spent a month in the hospital. He got amnesia and partially forgot things. He didn't have any family, and after a month, he finally returned home. He found his street, but then he realized he didn't remember which of the 2 houses was actually his. Can you guess which one it was? His house is the one where the snow is unshoveled. He spent a month in the hospital and lives alone, so no one could clean the driveway. Look at the Christmas photos of 2 families. Can you tell which family is poor? The poor family is the second one. Even though the son has a big present, the parents don't have any presents at all. They probably couldn't afford to buy presents for themselves. So, how well do you know the world's most famous landmarks? Really? Take our visual memory test and check it. Please keep the score of the answers and let us know how many landmarks you guessed right. Millions of people visit Paris every year to see the famous landmark. But did you know that Parisians, especially the artists, rejected the tower's construction back then? They even started a petition against it. They believed the building was going to spoil the view of the city, saying it doesn't reflect the French taste. Speaking of French taste, countries around the world liked it apparently. The tower's construction was finished in 1889. Since then, dozens of replicas have been constructed worldwide. The Statue of Liberty has 305 replicas. The Eiffel Tower follows its fame. Where is the real Eiffel Tower, and where is its replica? The one on the left is the real Eiffel Tower. The picture on the right is taken in Prague, Czech Republic. It is the famous Petrin Lookout Tower. Citizens were influenced by the Eiffel Tower and built the Petrin Lookout Tower only 2 years after Eiffel Tower's construction. It has 299 steps. Plus, it was a signal provider for quite some time until another television tower opened. This practical use differentiates it from nearly all the other replicas. Now, the Eiffel Tower is a technical and architectural success, yet it was meant to last only 20 years. Look at it now. It underwent construction, but remember what I told you about its replicas? Where is the next fake Eiffel Tower? Okay, this one is fake. The one on the left is from Canada. It is a successful replica. Would you visit it if you were in Canada, or prefer to see the original one? Eiffel Tower at night. Pick the real one. The world is not as it seems. The one on the left is in Durango, Mexico. This one is on the right. It is outside Slobozia in Romania. This replica is about 177 feet, whereas the original Eiffel Tower is over 1,000 feet. The real Eiffel Tower is on the right. The left one is a replica in Las Vegas. It is one of the closest ones to the actual tower. Suppose you fancy having a little more Parisian vibe. In that case, you can see the image of the Paris Opera or Louvre Museum nearby. Yet you cannot admire the actual painting of the Mona Lisa in Vegas. Moving on to Italy. Which one is the real Trevi Fountain? Yep, the left one. The Trevi Fountain is in Rome. You know, the one in which millions of tourists throw coins every year? The fountain is a lofty 85 feet tall and 65 feet wide. The replica is again in Vegas. Vegas sure likes to have a lot of famous European stuff around. This imitation is much more miniature, but has a good deal of resemblance with the real one. It has become a tourist spot as the one in Italy. Spot the fake Golden Gate Bridge. The one on the right is the actual bridge. It was the world's longest and tallest bridge at its time. Even though the left one resembles the Golden Gate Bridge, it is actually in Portugal's capital, Lisbon. This suspension bridge is a well-known landmark in the city. An American company was the primary contractor of the bridge. Maybe that's why both bridges look alike. The mysterious Stonehenge from the UK. Which one is real? The one on the left is real. The one on the right is from Virginia. A facsimile of the ancient site called Foamhenge, a full-scale replica made from, you guessed it, styrofoam. Leaving the mysterious Stonehenge behind, we go to a temple on the Athenian Acropolis in Greece. Back then, people constructed it from marble, unlike the imitation one made from concrete. Which one is the actual Parthenon? Yep, the left side. Centuries later, a full-size replica of the Parthenon is built. Where? In Centennial Park, Nashville, Tennessee. Is this one also dedicated to Athena? This one dates back to 1897. 19th century copycat is still a bit older, considering youngster copycats of other landmarks. Taj Mahal. 20,000 people and over 20 years of construction. This structure in India is counted as one of the new 7 wonders of the world. And yes, the story gives you chills. Emperor Shah Jahan ordered this construction after his wife passed, from 1653 to our day. Can you guess which one is the actual Taj Mahal? I'll move you to the right side. The actual palace is made from marble by the people. The fake model of the Taj Mahal has bricks. The replica is in Malaysia. It's like a mini model of the real one, but from bricks. The Rialto Bridge in Venice, Italy. It is the oldest and probably the most famous bridge in Venice's Grand Canal. Can you spot the real one? Left, pick the left. Ah, bellissima! It was completed in 1591, a Renaissance landmark. The original bridge has been rebuilt several times since its first construction. The current version has 3 walkways. 2 of them have outer banisters. The last one is wider, and it's the central walkway accompanied by 2 rows of small shops for the tourists. Yet again, there's a modern version in Las Vegas. You can even have a canal tour with a gondola. So, which one is real? The one on the right side. One of Italy's most visited attractions is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, made out of marble. The construction of the landmark took nearly 200 years to complete. The architect, Bonanno Pisano, was so embarrassed by it, he faded into obscurity, never knowing what a marvel it would become years later. Meanwhile, its duplicate stands in Illinois. May I present the Leaning Tower of Niles? Almost like a mirror image, huh? There are vast differences, though. Unlike the genuine Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Leaning Tower of Niles is half the size of the original. It is made from concrete, and people didn't spend 2 centuries building it. Now, for extra credit, can you guess what favorite food is served at both these tilting structures? That's right, lean cuisine. Okay, let's continue with another iconic landmark of Italy. Which one of these is the real Colosseum? The one on the left? The Colosseum is an area in the city of Rome. Interesting fact time. Did you know that Colosseum is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built? It also protects its fame by being the largest standing amphitheater in the world today. The bulging stadium had 80 entrances. It's made of stone and concrete. Almost 2/3 of the Colosseum has been lost over time, probably because of people's behaviors and natural causes. It is a tourist site that attracts lots and lots of people every year. The fake Colosseum enjoys its fame too. The picture on the right is also called the Colosseum. It's located at the buzzing part of the Las Vegas Strip at Caesar's Palace. It's a huge venue hosting performances. It has room for over 4,000 people, but isn't as big as the original. This one welcomed people such as Cher and Celine Dion in the past. Do you remember I mentioned the fake Trevi Fountain? Well, those 2 fake landmarks, the Trevi Fountain and the Colosseum, are really close to each other in Las Vegas. Okay, here's the last chance to raise your score on this quiz. Which one of these is the real Arc de Triomphe? Yes, the one on the left. If you look closely at the other picture, you might see that this replica is smaller than it was supposed to be. It's because the second one is not a full-size replica. It might be tricky to spot with all the tall buildings around, but a careful eye might catch it. It's one of the well-known monuments in Paris, France, standing at the heart of the Champs-Élysées. The real Arc de Triomphe stays at the Champs-Élysées. The fake Arc is located in… where else? Las Vegas. Okay, tally up your score and show me in the comments.
Jack is in a cold cell. There's only ground under his feet. In the cell, there is one window, but it's impossible to escape through it. It's located too high above the floor. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. The man needs to get out of the cell as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before finishing digging his way to freedom. Can you guess the easiest way out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. Ava has been wandering through the desert for days. She's tired, thirsty, and hungry. Finally, she arrives at an oasis. But to get to it, she needs to choose one of 3 paths. At the entrance of the first path, there's a huge dragon with 2 heads. In the middle of the second path, there are hungry tigers. And the third path is swarming with thousands of scorpions. Which path should she choose? The first path. Dragons aren't real, so she'll be safe there. Jenny walks into a cafe and orders a cappuccino.
Hello.
The cashier tells her it's her lucky day. She'll give Jenny her cappuccino for free if she manages to answer a riddle correctly.
Yes!
The cashier says, there are 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets are of the same height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket is 25 degrees Celsius, while in the second bucket it's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person drops a coin in each bucket at the same time, which coin will hit the bottom of the bucket first? It takes Jenny a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she gets it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said that first, one of the coins would hit the bottom of the first bucket. It has to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into ice. Emily finally went to Paris. On her first day, she bought a baguette and some cheese and went to the park to have a picnic. She sat down and cut the baguette into 4 pieces. A random person next to her said,
Nice!
"Hey, it took you 12 seconds to do that." Can you figure out how long it would take Emily to cut the baguette into 8 pieces? It would take 28 seconds. Here's how it works. To cut a baguette into 4 pieces, she needs to make 3 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 3 cuts, it means that she makes 1 cut in 4 seconds. Now, if she wants to cut the baguette into 8 pieces, she'll need to make 7 cuts. So, 7 cuts, 4 seconds each, 28 seconds. Every Sunday, Mrs. Moore gives her 4 daughters some pocket money. Half of the entire amount goes to the eldest daughter, Brianna. The second sister, Amy, gets half of the amount Brianna gets. Kate gets 1/6 of the total amount. And the remaining $10 goes to the youngest daughter, Nikki. How much money does Mrs. Moore give to her daughters? Once again, Brianna gets half of the money. Amy gets half of the half, which means 1/4 of the original sum, and Kate gets 1/6. They are all some fraction of 12, so Brianna gets 6/12, Amy gets 3/12, and Kate gets 3/12. Together, this adds up to 11/12, which means that Nikki gets 1/12, which equals $10. The whole sum is 12/12, which is $120. Brianna gets $60, Amy receives $30, Kate is given $20. Hey, if I were Nikki, I would complain. Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to put the day's earnings in the safe and was shocked to find out that the money was gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it was one of her workers. She asked each of them what they'd been doing that day. Sloan, the sales manager, said she'd been looking for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had finished that week. Lily, the designer, said she'd been working, but she also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he needed to steal Miss Taylor's money. 2 cars, blue and red, started traveling on the same highway at the same time. The blue car is going at a speed of 60 miles per hour, and the red car is going 40 miles per hour. However, after some time on the road, they come across each other at one point. How is this possible? Well, they're traveling in opposite directions, so eventually they would pass each other anyway. Carl was a rich man who had 2 grown-up sons, Ethan and Christian. They lived in a big mansion. One day, Carl noticed that his expensive ancient vase was missing. The only people who were at home the night before were his sons. He didn't want to involve the police, so he decided to interrogate the guys himself. He saw Ethan driving through the gates. He was back from his daily visit to the gym. The young man said that the night before, he'd been practicing guitar and hadn't noticed anything strange. Then, Carl met Christian near the pool. The guy told his father, "Now I understand. Yesterday, I saw Ethan putting a box in the back seat of his car. It must have been the vase." But Carl immediately realized it was Christian who had taken the vase. How did he know? Because Ethan drives a sports car. It only has 2 seats. He couldn't have put the box in the back seat. It means Christian is lying.
Ooh.
A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just 1 line and turn 9 into 6. His only condition was that the students couldn't take their pens off the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first one to complete the task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of I, X, and got 6. There's a patch of magic grass in a field, and it doubles in size every day. If on day 1 it's just a patch of grass, on day 2 it's twice bigger, and so on. It'll take 10 days for the grass to cover the entire field. How long will it take the grass to cover half of the field? The patch of grass doubles in size every day, so on the 9th day, half of the field will be covered with it. In a kingdom far, far away, an old king lived. The king was worried he had no heirs to his throne. One day, he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised to make the child who grew the most beautiful plant his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given the children fake seeds. The girl turned out to be the only honest kid.
Now Tyler runs an amusement park. He's having a job interview with these 3 clowns, but only one of them is not dangerous. Can you help Tyler hire the right person? The first clown doesn't cast a shadow, so he's probably a ghost. And the third clown is stealing money from the second clown's pocket, so he's a thief. Therefore, Tyler should hire the second clown. Peter and Holly are having their first date in the amusement park. They decide to ride the Tunnel of Love. At some point, it gets pretty dark inside the tunnel, and after the ride, Peter finds out that his wallet is gone. Tyler calls the police and questions 3 customers from nearby swan boats. Bella says, "I'm sorry, I filmed a video on my phone. I didn't look around." Tim says, "No way, bro, my wallet is gone too." And Lisa replies, "In the dark, I felt someone touching my bag. I pushed the attacker away. Can you spot the thief?" It's Holly. Take a look at her bag. There are 2 wallets inside it, and here's one more in her pocket. Tyler receives a curious delivery. It has streets, but no pavement. It has cities, but no buildings. It has forests, but no trees. Also, it has rivers, yet no water. Can you guess what it is? It's a map. There are 3 bakeries in the park. Wendy has exactly $100 and she needs to buy 100 cupcakes. She must spend the money entirely. Also, Wendy must buy at least 1 cupcake from each bakery. The first shop is selling each cupcake at 5 cents. The second one is selling them at $1, and the third at $5. How many cupcakes should Wendy buy from each bakery? To fit the budget, Wendy should buy 80 cupcakes from the first shop, 1 cupcake from the second shop, and 19 cupcakes from the third shop. Brian decides to take a ride on the Ferris wheel. On his way up, someone suddenly throws ice cream right in his face. When the trip is over, he interviews 3 suspects. Zoe says, "I don't eat ice cream. I'm on a sugar-free diet." Peter says, "I didn't see anything, bro. I'm terrified of heights, so I kept my eyes closed the whole ride." And Fred says, "Sorry, I was streaming a video, so I didn't look around." Who is lying? Peter. If he's terribly afraid of heights, why would he ride the Ferris wheel? Brian is wandering around the park. Suddenly, someone approaches him from the back and grabs his phone. The thief is wearing a mask, so Brian can't see his face. The thief runs into a cafe and hides among the customers. Can you help Brian spot the criminal? It's this woman. She's hiding Brian's wallet in the menu. Tyler is walking down the street after a long work day. Suddenly, he pushes this lady. Can you guess why? Tyler saved her from getting hit by a car. Tyler keeps on walking and sees a group of ducks crossing the road. Can you count the exact number of ducks? $16. Tyler enters a jewelry shop where his girlfriend Mary works as a saleswoman. Unfortunately, he finds her unconscious on the floor. He calls doctors immediately. They figure out that Mary was poisoned. Tyler questions 3 witnesses. The cleaning lady says, "I was cleaning silver jewelry in the storage room." The guard said, "I was having a lunch break outdoors and talking with my friend." And the boss says, "I had a business meeting in another part of the city." Can you help Tyler figure out who poisoned Mary? Take a look at the hint that Mary left on the wall. It literally says that the boss did it. A few days later, Mary gets better and decides to prank Tyler. She brings 3 similar boxes to his house. There are 2 delicious cheesecakes in 2 boxes, and the remaining box contains dog food. Let's spin the boxes back and forth. Can you find the pranked box now? Aha! The second one. Tyler gets an urgent call from his assistant. Someone painted graffiti at a vegan restaurant in his park. Tyler interrogates 3 employees. The cleaner says, "I had an urgent call from my mother, so I went outside the restaurant to the backyard. When I returned, the graffiti was already there. The waitress says, I was taking an order. Suddenly, I looked out the window and saw a person in a black hoodie. He dropped a paint can and ran away. And the cook says, I was wearing my earphones and frying chicken wings in the kitchen, so I didn't notice anything suspicious. Who's lying? The cook. It's a vegan restaurant. Why would he fry chicken wings? After getting exposed, the cook pushes Tyler away and escapes from the restaurant. Tyler follows him. The cook hides in a carnival tent. He puts on a costume to blend in with the crowd. Can you help Tyler find him? There he is. It was raining heavily outside, so his shoes got wet. Tyler is walking around the park and spots 4 weird details. Can you see them too? This teddy bear has 3 ears. There's no July 34th. There's pink ice cream inside the chocolate ice cream box. And this old lady is carrying a crocodile in a stroller. There are 3 fortune tellers working in the amusement park: Zelda, Salma, and Freya. One of them is an imposter. Can you decide who? Salma has an earphone in her ear, which probably means that someone is helping her when she tells fate. Later that night, Tyler finds Zelda lying unconscious at her workplace. There's a weird note in her hand. Tyler calls the doctors and the police. He also finds out that Zelda had only 5 customers that night: Alex, Rick, Emma, Rose, and Zoe. Can you figure out who's guilty? Rose. There's a tricky hint hidden in this note. Q plus 1 is R, N plus 1 is O, R plus 1 is S, and D plus 1 is E. Tyler spends all morning in his office. Then he leaves it for a couple of hours to have lunch with Mary. When Tyler gets back, he finds out that someone had robbed him. How? These 6 items are missing. Tyler is checking out these clowns' makeup before their performance. Can you spot the odd one out? It's this guy. He's the only one who has eyebrows. What about these houses? Can you find the odd one out? Yup, it's this one. Tyler receives 4 new tents. Unfortunately, one of them has a slightly different design. Can you spot which one? The second tent doesn't belong here. Tyler wants to improve the scary tunnel, so he gathers all actors playing ghosts and monsters for a brief team building. But there are real monsters and ghosts among Tyler's employees. Can you spot them? This guy is too transparent for a human. He's a ghost. And huge claws cut through this guy's sneakers, so he's probably a werewolf. Tyler wins a cute teddy bear for Mary. They get distracted for a second and then see that the toy is gone. They look around and find 3 suspects. Can you guess who is a thief? Although this lady is holding a similar teddy bear, it still has a different bow. This guy is carrying a box, and judging by his posture, it's hard for him to carry it, so it's probably really filled with heavy stuff. And the third guy's guitar is outside the bag, which means he can be hiding the teddy bear inside the guitar case. Tyler throws an epic party at the amusement park. All guests are treated to free food and drinks. In the middle of the party, all the guests begin to fall asleep right on the dance floor. The next day, doctors check all the food and drinks from the party, and everything is perfectly fine. Can you guess what happened here? These balloons were filled with sleeping gas. In the middle of the party, they burst and made the guests fall asleep.